Caleb Thorne, CEO of the Daily Drip, a coffee empire boasting hundreds of locations, felt a gnawing unease. For months, profit margins had been subtly shrinking. Employee turnover was climbing, and customer satisfaction scores, once stellar, were beginning to dip. He'd received the carefully curated reports, read the optimistic projections from his VPs, but a gut feeling, a persistent whisper, told him something was off. It wasn't about the numbers anymore. It was about the soul of his company. So, Caleb decided on a drastic measure. He would go undercover. His transformation was meticulous. Gone were the tailored suits and polished leather shoes. In their place, worn denim, a faded band t-shirt, and scuffed sneakers. He grew out a patchy beard, dyed his usually sharp brown hair a dull blonde, and adopted a slouch he'd never known he possessed. He became Kyle Peterson, a laid-back, somewhat naive new hire, looking for a simple job at a local Daily Drip. His expensive watch was replaced with a cheap, plastic digital one. The scent of his usual high-end cologne gave way to the faint aroma of stale coffee and cleaning solution. He wasn't a powerful CEO anymore. He was just another barista, an anonymous cog in the machine he himself had built. He felt the weight of his usual authority shed, replaced by a strange lightness, mixed with growing apprehension. He found himself constantly adjusting to the unfamiliar bulk of an apron, the cheap fabric rough against the skin. The sounds of the bustling cafe, once a distant hum from his office, now assaulted his ears. The insistent hiss of the espresso machine, the clatter of ceramic, the muffled shouts of orders. The air, thick with the scent of roasted beans and warm milk, felt heavy, different. His secret mission was driven by that persistent unease. He genuinely believed in his company, in the quality of his coffee, and the training of his staff. He expected to find minor inefficiencies, perhaps a few lazy employees, easily rectified. He had a quiet confidence, almost a touch of hubris, that Kyle would quickly identify the superficial issues and bring them back to Caleb for a swift corporate fix. He was entirely unprepared for what truly lay beneath the surface. The first whisper of unease arrived subtle, almost imperceptible. Caleb, as Kyle, was learning the ropes at a bustling Daily Drip location on the outskirts of Phoenix. He noticed the speed at which a seasoned barista, Lena, would rush through drink orders, occasionally skimming on ingredients. A hurried pump of syrup instead of the full two, a quick swipe of milk foam, leaving a flat, unappetizing layer. When he tried to follow the recipe precisely, Lena shot him a weary glance. "Look, new guy," she'd sighed. "We got a line out the door. No one's got time for perfection here. Just get him out." It wasn't malicious, not overtly, but it was a quiet erosion of the quality he prided himself on. He felt a small knot tighten in his stomach. Was this standard practice? Or just a stressed-out employee cutting corners? A few days later, a rush hit, harder and faster than Caleb had anticipated. The barista in charge of the cash register, a young man named Finn, suddenly looked overwhelmed. A customer, clearly frustrated by a long wait, began to loudly complain about their incorrect order. Finn, flustered, fumbled with the register, his face flushing. Caleb, usually adept at de-escalation, found himself frozen. As Kyle, he lacked the authority, the inherent confidence that came with the CEO title. He felt a surge of helplessness as he watched Finn try to placate the customer, his voice wavering. The customer eventually stormed off, leaving a half-empty cup and a trail of grumbled threats about corporate complaints. Caleb's palms were sweaty. He wanted to step in to fix it, but Kyle couldn't. He was just a new hire, barely capable of keeping up with the relentless pace of drink orders. The sheer physical demand of standing for hours, the repetitive motions, the constant background noise. It was exhausting in a way his executive meetings never were. He felt the tension in his shoulders, a dull ache in his lower back. This wasn't just a job, it was a gauntlet. The truly crushing realization came when he discovered the milk situation. He'd noticed the milk often tasted slightly off, a subtle sourness that he couldn't quite place. One morning, he watched as Asher, the shift supervisor, poured the last of an almost empty milk carton into a new, fresh one. "What are you doing?" Caleb asked, genuinely confused. Asher shrugged. "Just mixing it. Happens all the time. Saves us from throwing out a perfectly good splash. Perfectly good? Caleb's mind reeled. He knew, intimately, the precise temperature and shelf life requirements for their dairy. This was a clear violation of health and safety protocols, a direct compromise of product quality. It wasn't just a minor oversight. It was a deliberate disregard for standards, a systemic flaw he genuinely believed was impossible in his organization. A sudden coldness washed over him, a tightening in his chest. The stabbing realization hit him. He had been blind. How many customers had tasted that slightly off milk? How many employees knew this was happening? The weight of that realization pressed down on him, a sudden, undeniable blow. One particularly slow afternoon, Lena, oblivious to his true identity, leaned against the counter, her voice low and tired. "You know, Kyle," she began, "I love making coffee. It's my passion. But lately, it feels like we're just numbers to them. My hours got cut again, even though I've been here 5 years. My daughter needed new glasses, and I had to put on a credit card. No sick pay, no benefits that actually help." Her eyes, usually quick and sharp, held a deep, unvarnished weariness. "They talk about Employee Appreciation Week," she continued, a bitter laugh escaping her lips. "But then they cut our hours and expect us to keep smiling." Her words, simple and honest, pierced Caleb's core. Lena, a loyal, hard-working employee, was struggling to afford glasses for her child. His company, was contributing to her quiet desperation. He felt a profound sense of shame, a hollow ache in his chest. Then came the absolute gut-wrenching betrayal. It was late, almost closing time. Caleb was in the back, cleaning the industrial coffee grinder, when he heard Asher on a hushed phone call. "Yeah, I know, but look, the inventory system is still showing we're ordering premium beans, but we've been getting the cheaper blend for weeks now," Asher whispered. Caleb froze, his hand still on the grimy machine. "No one notices the difference, man," Asher continued, a casual arrogance in his voice. "And management gets their numbers, so everyone's happy. Just keep sending the invoices for the good stuff." Caleb's breath caught in his throat. His blood ran cold. This wasn't corner cut or a minor inefficiency. This was outright fraud, a deliberate deception of both customers and, potentially, shareholders. He had built the Daily Drip on the foundation of quality, of sourcing the best beans, of transparent practices. This was a systemic rot, extending far deeper than he could have imagined. The thought of thousands of customers unwittingly paying premium prices for an inferior product made him sick. The raw, physical, and emotional impact of this revelation hit him like a punch to the gut. The shocking dread radiated through him, cold and chilling. The unmasking occurred swiftly, dramatically. 2 days later, Caleb, still Kyle, was called into the manager's office for what he thought was a performance review. Instead, he found the district manager, a stern-faced woman named Brenda, sitting beside the local store manager, both looking unusually grave. "Kyle," Brenda began, "we need to talk about some irregularities we've discovered." Just as she spoke, Caleb reached into his worn backpack. Pulling out his previously hidden company ID, he slid it across the table. "Caleb Thorne," he stated, his voice calm but firm, "CEO of the Daily Drip." A silence descended, thick and absolute. Brenda's jaw literally dropped. The store manager, Mr. Henderson, went ashen, his eyes wide with a mixture of disbelief and fear. The air in the small office crackled with unspoken shock. Caleb watched as comprehension dawned on their faces, followed by a scramble for composure that was utterly futile. The reckoning was swift and uncompromising. Asher was terminated immediately, and a forensic audit was launched into supply chain and inventory systems. Brenda and Mr. Henderson were put on immediate administrative leave, pending a full investigation into their oversight and potential complicity. Caleb sent out a company-wide email, a direct, unfiltered message acknowledging his undercover mission and outlining the severe issues he had uncovered. He announced a complete overhaul, starting with a new leadership team focused on transparency and ethical practices. The dawn of a new era at the Daily Drip was palpable. Within weeks, new management was in place, handpicked for their integrity and commitment to employee welfare. Lena's hours were not only restored but increased, along with significant raise and robust new benefit packages that included comprehensive health insurance and sick pay. Child care stipends were introduced for all frontline staff. Customer feedback channels were revamped, with direct lines to regional managers. The milk situation was addressed with mandatory retraining for all staff on proper handling and storage, coupled with frequent, unannounced health inspections. The superior coffee beans, one siphon off, were back in every grinder, their rich aroma filling every cafe. The daily drip underwent a profound transformation. Employee morale soared, evidenced by vibrant smiles and genuine enthusiasm. Customer satisfaction scores not only recovered but exceeded previous benchmarks. The company, once teetering on the edge of internal rot, became a beacon of ethical business, a testament to the vital importance of empathy, the transformative power of listening to frontline voices, and the eradication of the disconnect between leadership and staff. Caleb Thorne, no longer just a CEO, but a leader profoundly changed by his experience, had not merely fixed his company, he had resurrected its soul.